Hey everybody, we are back and we are one Messenger studio. You guys wave at everybody. I got a special guest in here today, Todd Blackburn from the Meade County RECC. Earlene, welcome back.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. It was just last week that we were together. And we were having this conversation about cold weather, lots of stuff with cold weather. And I kind of was like, you know what? We need to reach out to Todd, our friend over at Meade County RECC, because there's so many people that were part of what you guys do over there to make sure that we didn't have to crank up the generators and wait for weeks, unlike other parts of our nation that are dealing with outages and things of that nature because of their weather. But Todd, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we are too.
Now we did have outages, and so what I think is important here is that there were outages that were weather induced. But what I think is amazing is how quickly Todd and his team were able to get with it, and to get everything taken care of. I have friends who are on lots of other different electricity companies in neighboring counties,
right?
And one of my friends was out for 3 days. And then, I know. And
so, it wasn't uncommon. Certainly in certain parts of the state that got hit, maybe a little harder. I would also like to add that, over the years, first of all, I appreciate your kind words, but I did very little in comparison to what the rest of them.
We know that, Todd.
I'm
just kidding.
I'm just here to talk about it. So, but no.
And it's more than just alignment, too.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And what we've done, what our company has done over the years, we have a vegetation management program that has been improved on over the years. The 2009 ice storm was the biggest measuring mark. And this probably wouldn't have come close to it regardless, but because of that, a lot of new techniques and a lot of new right-of-way trimming and spraying has been done. And everybody knows that trees and ice and wind are enemies of the power line.
That's
so
right.
we were set up in good shape for that.
Yep.
It's funny that you say vegetation has an impact on infrastructure.
Well, of course it does.
You would think that California could probably take some notes from the example that Meade County RECC is setting with its vegetation management.
Yeah. It's we always say that the easiest time to trim our right-of-way is whenever someone's power's out.
Right.
Right.
Because they're like, do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, but preventive maintenance and a schedule, and we talked about this actually before on a program, because y'all have invested in yourselves technically in order to eliminate this. Because I could only imagine do you know how many crews you guys had out and how many outages for this last winter storm?
Yeah. For basically it was Sunday evening. And we completed everything by Wednesday.
Wow.
So most of it was done by Tuesday, but we had everything cleaned up and everything by Wednesday. We have 20 linemen across our system. It also takes the linemen do a great job. They stay out sometimes longer than we really want them to do on their schedule because they know they can get some more lights on.
Right.
And it's something that's in their soul.
Yeah.
So we have 20 linemen across our system, and but it takes our field engineer who go out during the storm. They go out and assess the damage and determine what material and what equipment we need in certain places to efficiently restore power. Our meter guys, they help out. Our safety coordinator, he was a big help out on the system. It's a dangerous job, and we have to make sure that they maintain the safety. We also brought in 32 contractors from 3 different companies.
Wow.
That helped us, and we really thank them for coming. And
so the 32 was in addition to your 20.
Yeah.
In addition, yes. So
you had some. Vegetation management's good, but you're still not gonna win against Mother Nature. But what could have been versus what it was, you would say. This was a better through for storm, or
absolutely, and even compared to, we do a thing called mutual aid throughout our cooperative network through the state and as well as other states. And when we get done with our work, sometimes we'll go help others.
Right.
Well, we have been to other places, and our guys see their systems, and they're like, "Whoa, we're glad ours has been proactively taken care of." We're on a 5-year cycle of when we go through. So if you've seen us on certain power lines in your area, 5 years later we'll come back. But what we do is, if we cut it this year, next year we spray it, and then it's actually a little less than 5 years on the full cycle. But we have just a little over 31,000 customers. And at the peak of our outages, we had 3,125 out.
So about 10% of your customers.
Yeah, which is a significant number when you keep in mind that each one of those is a person, a family, a home that's without power. You know, we've built our lives around electricity is not a necessity. A lot of people think it is.
It's not.
It's not a necessity, but it is. We have built our lives around it to where it feels like it.
Yeah,
and we want it. And I'm first one to say I want it. You know,
I will tell you, I am often entertained by, so the electricity will go out, and then sure enough, it never fails. It'll pick up any type of social media, and someone will say, "Does anybody know how long the electricity is going to be?" Like they're going to ask Facebook or Instagram or one of those things. How long do you think? So, which leads me to tell you, I am so impressed with the fact that you can go to your website. Well, actually, let me back up a little bit. I got an alert. You know, I got an alert like almost instantly. As soon as our electricity went out, boom.
Business and residents.
I would say within a minute or two that I got an alert saying that 63 Catbird Road, which that's where I live, and so is out, blah, 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 blah.
There it is.
Yeah, I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, she just told you where she lived. If you complain, you can go see her at her house.
Well,
No, just kidding. Get through the security.
That's
that's
not very
send all the
difficult.
fan mail.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. But anyway, so I got an alert on my phone. Eddie didn't, but I did. So, and I was like, because you're not signed up for it.
It depends. Yeah, that's a good segue.
Right.
So we actually have a new outage management software.
And it's fantastic.
That it ties in with a phone number. So 866-627-3688, or if you can remember it by 866-MCREOUT, MCRE out. That's on our website. That's on our outage management. And you can now text. You can text your outage, and that really helped us during the storm too, because we have personnel that answers phones for outages, and that really took the load off of the phone lines and allowed us to get it naturally or get it immediately through our system, and it predicts outages and it puts in the outages together.
And I did notice that. So on the map that you had, so it would truly outline in red what was out.
Everybody impacted.
But then it also said these could be out. Like you gave addresses about we're concerned about this area. So it was kind of like a prep.
Yeah.
You know.
What it does is there's a certain formula to it that if it gets, say, Elm Street is someone from Elm Street calls in.
There's a grid.
And then somebody from the other end of Elm Street calls in. Well, this system assumes that line is out because
or a transformer or a junction point.
So it's taking something out there. So the other nice thing about that is it will text you whenever your power comes back on.
Yes, it did. I was getting ready to tell you that. So I was down at my cousin's house because she's got a fireplace in the basement. Eddie was out running around the streets of Doe Valley, and when it came back on, my ding, and I got a message, and it said, "We have restored your power."
Yeah.
And so I was
it was very close though, because like the power was on and then ding. It was like a millisecond after. It was really weird, but it was
close to
super
real time.
Yeah.
Close. And then during an outage, if it does happen to be prolonged, which we hate and we try not to try to avoid these when we can. If you just text after you've already texted that you're out, if you text status, it will give you a status, and it may say multiple things. Crew assigned, work underway. I don't know exactly all it says.
You're on track. Those two are definite prompts, and then your power's back on.
Right.
Or there's a delay. It's going to take longer because whatever. And usually that's because there's something hidden that an engineer didn't see.
Yeah. You touch on a very good point. That has helped us to be able to give a little more insight to the restoration plan and how long to expect. But that is, in our business, one of the toughest things is to predict how long your power is going to be out. And that's the one question that everybody wants to know.
How long?
We understand that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. You talk about how long because it's not a necessity. Now, if you've got a freezer full of stuff, well, you know what? This is the wonderful thing about wintertime is you can go set all that outside in the storm and it will keep just fine under God's hand.
Yeah.
Until the temperature cranks back up.
We recommend putting it in the cooler.
Yeah.
And
Either way.
And setting it outside maybe.
Yeah. So the dogs don't get it.
Yeah,
but,
and when it thaws, if you're not paying attention, you can get food poisoning and certain things.
Yeah.
But you're right.
And it typically the weather is not going to go away any sooner than you're going to get power up. So so you're always worried about, well, I'd like to keep my stuff cold in the refrigerator or keep the freezer on, and I want a generator for that. And that is good if it's going to be prolonged time, like 10 hours or 10 days or something like that. But there's so many alternatives, and I think that storm preparation in the winter is just as important as it is in a tornado where the warmer temperatures are. My kids were excited. They were actually hopeful for a power outage. And I said, no, son, you don't have anything to worry about because we got Meade County RECC. And they're like, well, what does that mean? I said, it means that our neighbors across the street are probably going to come over and hang out with us so they can stay warm because they will probably lose power because they belong to another. Yes. And I shamelessly talk about that all the time because when we first lived here, we had Meade County RECC, and to the record of their work and performance, hardly had any outages. Never heard of it. In fact, we literally how people look for schools when they buy a house? Nope. Like for Meade County RECC was at the top of the list for number of homes. And then you guys have the Kentucky Living magazine, and then you put the insert in there. It talks about how many households you have that you service, but not every household in Meade County is serviced by Meade County RECC.
No.
How long has there been competition in the same county?
Oh, wow. Well, that goes back to the 1940s, because the rural electrification program, and I'm not going to give a history lesson on
No,
this,
you don't have to.
But the rural electrification program occurred because it's actually a very interesting story. Occurred because the municipals and the for-profit, the investor-owned utilities did not want to go beyond the cities.
Yeah.
And the farms were like, hey, we could benefit. We could benefit by electricity, and so through the government, the Rural Electrification Act, they did that in the 40s, and it was a process, obviously.
Sure.
So sometime in the 40s or 50s is when they certified territories. So the territories are, so there's a lot of counties, a lot of places that you can go that there's more than two. Utilities in the
Well,
area.
let me ask you this. I mean, I'm just thinking about the linemen and the whole process, and I understand that you've got the administrative part of it, which you're a part of, and then everything trickles down, and then the linemen are out there. When do you determine that, or do you determine that it is unsafe for a lineman to go out? Like, do you guys ever say, it's out, but we've got 80 mile per hour winds, or we've got 3 inches of ice and we can't get out? Who makes that decision? Is that your call, or how do you guys decide when it's too treacherous to send your employees out?
I would say it's partially my call. It's more an advisory, like a group. We have a superintendent over all of our operations, and he ultimately makes the decision. I guess our CEO ultimately makes the decisions, but that's a good point, because that's another tough thing when the power goes out and we're still getting weather and it's at nighttime. People want you to be out there restoring power. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't make the most sense. So anytime I post all of our Facebook and messages on our website, and a lot of times you'll hear me say, we will restore power as efficiently, quickly, and as safely as we can. We're very proud of our safety record. We're looking forward to 3 years with no lost time, meaning no one lost a day of work or a minute of work. We just celebrated our 2 years of no recordables. So in the safety world, that means nobody got any kind of injury beyond first aid. And the miles we drive and the work we do, that's a major feat. So we have had to hold them back from going. I talked to one of our linemen in the middle of the storm restoration last week, and he said that he was a crew foreman, and he said that they were in an area where, when the sun comes out, which we all want to happen, well, stuff starts thawing and stuff starts falling, and they had to move the whole crew to an open area to get away from danger.
Sure.
And wait till it clears.
So so I understand that like your crew, they have to take certain safety protocol
Sure.
classes. Do
Absolutely.
you take those safety classes with them so that you understand what they're facing?
Absolutely. We all of our employees don't go through the same levels of safety, but we have all employee safety because we know safety is every day. Safety
Right.
is
Yeah.
everything. You can get hurt in the office.
You can get
I've
hurt
seen it
walking
happen
across the room. Yeah.
It's a very important thing, and it should be. It needs to be our number one focus. We want to get power back on, but we don't want to do it. We're no good to our members if we get hurt doing it. Then now we got a man down. So, we do our best to think about those things, and sometimes it's go out and assess
Right.
and come back and
Right.
regroup, and then you have the equipment and material you need. So,
Yeah, I've often wondered that because one of the things that I think we all deal with, because we're we're all really in customer service
Sure.
positions, is people get frustrated, and I think lots of times that people get frustrated because they don't understand what's going on. They panic, electricity's out. Sometimes it really is quite serious if people have
Right.
a machine that that requires electricity, and then
Right.
we're hoping they have a generator that will kick that on. But
Yeah.
Right.
and then they get angry. So lots of times when people are most afraid, it manifests as anger.
Right.
And then they take it out on you guys.
That's right, and that's fine. We understand it. Everybody has everybody's important. Everybody has we get asked a lot of times about I'm drawing a blank on what it's called, but like a medical list
Yeah.
of priority.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the process in which we restore power is we go with the source where it's generated and go out from there. So that may be the generation plant, or that may be the substations or the main feeders that go down the line, and we go out from there. That's the only way to do it. You
Right.
have to have those first to get to it. And with everybody on a CPAP machine and everybody,
Oh, yeah.
everybody would
This
be
guy.
everybody would be signed up for priority. So there was a phrase that was coined a few years back called "the first 72 is on you," and that's kind of the mantra that we kind of try to hold our members to. We're going to give you the heads up. We're going to tell you about what's coming. We're going to tell you the things that we feel like. We give you tools and tips all the time in the Kentucky Living magazine, on our website, on Facebook, to help you prepare. But in an ice storm, in a hurricane, in a major weather event, we want our members to be prepared for the first 72 hours to take care of
Right.
yourself.
Right.
And I've told people over and over, if you can't stand to be without power for a couple of days, then you need to make other arrangements.
Right.
And that means go to a family member, friend, hotel, whatever the case may be. It's always better to prepare for the worst and pray for the best.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, that's good.
So, if my power was out and it was ever going to be a prolonged, when was the last time you guys had what was the longest period, and when was the last time that ever happened? For a long period of an outage,
that
major
2009, right?
catastrophe.
Oh yeah, 2009 was catastrophic, and it was we had some members that were out, not just us. Different utilities across the state had people out for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It was devastating. And if you were here then, or if you were even somewhere else in the ice storm, it was really eerie because we didn't know the level of infrastructure that were just tore down, not just on electric, but
Right.
on your water companies, on your gas, and then they had to ration gasoline.
Yeah.
They didn't know how long it was going to take. It was really kind of a Armageddon type feel,
Right.
like the end of times. But that would be the last large
Yeah.
outage. And during this storm, there were certain of our members that, for different reasons, could have been out for 3 days.
Yeah.
That wasn't out of the question. some very rural areas and some places where there was a lot of damage. We had 20 poles broken through the storm. And that may not sound like a huge number, but you figure to replace a pole, it probably takes a crew of 4, probably about 4 or 5 hours.
Right. And about 40 years too, right? To grow the tree.
Yes, right. That's right. You gotta plant it and water it.
Let Jesus take control. So I think it's very interesting though that how many people are prepared and how many are unprepared. And to your point earlier, Earlene, you were talking about how long is this going to be out? You know what I mean? I told my kids, I said, well, if you want an outage, I can tell you 2 things that you're going to want to do right now because you're going to be devastated. You better go ahead and charge your tablet. They don't get a phone. I'm not letting them have one yet. No, but I'll let them watch like the Netflix and stuff, and their tablets are tied to the cell account or whatever, so that when we're on the road. But I said, if you even want to touch, and my oldest, I'm so proud of him. He said, I don't really care if mine's out or not. I'll just color or read. And I said, good boy. But my little one was completely devastated. What? What the what? Yeah. And I said, don't worry. I'll have the backup battery. But once that's gone, then you're done. We're back to playing cards and playing games, board games and stuff.
I don't mind being without electricity at all. I do mind being without heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a kerosene heater, and so I do mind that. I don't want to be frozen.
I enjoy a hot shower too. So
well, I do too, but
you can go a couple of days without a shower and be fine. But to let the house go below certain freezing temperatures, then you have to worry about your lines busting and everything.
Other problems, correct.
So super simple solution, and you can get with your electrician. But if you're running on propane, the only thing running on a furnace is literally the thermostat, which is powered by the furnace, but it's a 110 and usually a 20 amp or less, and you don't need a very big generator to run that, and you can do what's a bypass so that it's at the heater and you go from there. But I would highly encourage everybody to talk to an electrician before you go trying to reach into the wiring box, because that's a whole new problem.
That's very important, because if a generator is done the wrong way, it's a transformer,
right?
And it goes back and energizes lines that we know are
dead,
de-energized.
Yeah.
But it can power back and people can get hurt.
Well, and a lot of people want to MacGyver that. Like, they're like, I can do this, I can fix this, and they'll get in there and mess
No, you need either a generator switch where so the power does not reverse.
Transfer switch.
And the most important thing is you don't want both coming back on at the same time, where a generator's running and the power grid's coming on, because that's just...
If it's done the right way with the proper transfer switch, it won't do any damage.
You can't screw it up, because you have a generator mode and you have always power. Yeah.
Well, and then another thing that happened, so we did get a pretty good notice about the storm coming, for I bet close to a week.
Right.
The weather, people were like, this is coming, it's coming, it's coming. So people were running out and buying generators and then taking them home. And I was kind of like, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to fix that up? And I know a lot of people.
Cousin Eddie.
Did it themselves. And
now you can do the small ones where it's just simply you run an extension cord, you plug into it, a light or some sort of small heater or something. But where you tie it in with a house, that is very...
So
don't MacGyver that.
So somebody at home could do that without an electrician's help?
You can, the small ones that you just plug into.
Just to maybe...
A space heater.
Yes, a space heater.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's good to know. And I wouldn't want you to mention any brand names or anything like that. But I know that generators come in different sizes, like bulbs or whatever. So what would it take to run one space heater?
They're 1,500 watts. Typically, a 1,500 watt space heater is at least 1,500 watts.
Yeah.
On high.
Yeah. I would advise them to speak to a electrician. I'm not an electrician.
Or the generator salesperson.
Yeah.
Too.
Of what, because human nature, we're Americans. We're probably going to overload it.
Yeah.
So
well, hey, that's working. Let me plug the refrigerator in too and see what happens.
I
Yeah.
gotta keep my beer cold.
Yeah, that's it. Can we plug in the kegerator too? No, I'm just kidding. But those are actually good questions, Earlene, because a lot of people don't know what their load capacity
Right.
and if it's summertime, it's a a different animal because there is a start load just to power an air conditioner, which like maxes out your generator. But if you're running, the refrigerator, other things, and you want that AC to kick on, you will over exceed the capacity of the generator, which will shut the generator down. It just won't provide the service or power that you need.
I will say that the least thing I was worried about was the refrigerator. It was already 20 degrees.
Yeah.
Right.
Even with it off, and we didn't, we
Right.
just had the kerosene.
Don't
stove,
keep
so-
opening the door.
No.
No, yeah, we understand that. And Stephen mentioned summer, and so I'm sure you were here then. It was just like 2 or 3 years ago. It was during the spring or summer or something like that. We had those real hot winds. Remember the winds were just blowing and
Oh,
they
yeah.
were coming in.
Like the Santa Anas?
They
Might
closed
have been.
school. They closed school down. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And a lot of people lost electricity
Yeah.
during that.
Yeah,
and it was hot.
Windstorms can do maybe not as much damage as ice. We just kind of cringe at the word ice. But wind can really,
It was
again,
whipping it around.
reasons to do vegetation management, keep the trees
Yeah.
further away from the power line.
I actually had a great question for you, and I want you to stay tuned because you're going to want to know this question when we come back. So I'm going to go through our sponsors real quick, so stand fast while we cut to them. So, listen, you got to give some credit up to Raise Ford for being one of our sponsors. They provide a great service program at their service department. If you buy a vehicle from them, need to do an oil change or anything like that, Raise Ford is the place to go. The dealership service and quality of vehicles is excellent. If you're looking for a sales rep, call Keith, get in touch with him. He'll be more than glad to talk to you. And of course, Chris and Ray are always standing by. The whole team there is just phenomenal. Joe Redman is also one of our sponsors this week. If you were looking for that handyman work around your house, you're looking to add on to a deck, build a deck, or do some small repairs around your home, give Joe Redman a call at 270-668-2858 for all your landscaping or home repair needs. He's ready to go, and he just wants to send a thank you out to all of his supporters that have done business with him and let you know that he's still out there. Thank you, Terry Woobry with Doe Valley Lakeside Bar and Grill. They are a phenomenal sponsor. They actually have catering available, but they run the restaurant there at the Swim and Tennis Club of Doe Valley, and you don't need to be a member of Doe Valley to go enjoy their treats and their treasures for their dining experience. You can enjoy the lake views from the window panes of the Lakeside Bar and Grill. Pollock's Appliance for sponsoring this week's episode. You can call 270-668-8292. They service what they sell, and you can also check out their lineup at www.pollocksappliance.com, where you can buy locally and not have to go far to find your appliance needs and plug them into this wonderful electric grid that we call the Meade County RECC. And with that, we come back to our studio. Todd Blackburn, I have a great question for you, and I want you to be ready for this. Are you sure?
I
Okay.
guess.
The average, there's a couple. It's building question. So the average distance between an standard residential electrical pole and an electrical pole is about how far?
The spans of primary, which is the
main line.
the high voltage, probably 350 feet.
Okay, and that's probably longer than the standard for a residential, or a residential lower voltage or longer?
No.
Okay, the shorter.
No, that's a heavier, because it's an insulated wire.
Okay.
So it's that's probably, I'd say 100, 150.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the 350 one because that's the longest one.
Yep.
When that wire is completely full of water and then becomes ice, what is the increased weight of that line that adds the tension, because it's happening on both sides?
Yeah.
What is the average weight or the increase per, I'd say, foot with ice I mean, we could do a math problem, but
Yeah.
I mean, how much is the weight increased?
That's the kind of question you give me in advance so I can ask my engineers.
All right, I'm going to Google it in the background.
But what I can say, all of our power lines are built to withstand up to a half inch of ice. We say quarter inch is okay. When you start getting up towards a half inch of ice, you're getting into the trouble zone because of the way the construction model and way they're built. Now you go up to Minnesota.
Oh yeah,
They build.
Oh yeah,
They build them to withstand, 3/4 of an inch, or maybe even more.
Right.
So there's different standards of how they build them. So
okay.
And back in 2009, which we keep referencing, we got very close to an inch of ice in some locations on the lines, and therefore total devastation. The weight pulls the wires down. It also pulls the attachments off the pole, and in some cases just breaks the poles.
Yeah, so it says on a quick Google search, half an inch of ice can add as much as 500 pounds to a power line. When you add the weight of a falling tree, it only increases or intensifies. Specifically, to your point, it could break other items, and because it's pulling and tugging.
Right.
And
the ice on the lines is an issue, but a lot of times the bigger issue is tree limbs, and then when they thaw, they rebound. So they could be under a line, bent over, and then when they start to rebound,
so let me ask you this: if any time of the year, any season of the year, summer, winter, whatever, and somebody is near a pole that has snapped or the wire has snapped, there's a problem. So anytime that we're involved with that,
one of you have your phone going off, yeah.
It was me.
All right.
And so
I got to put a soft pad over to the side so you can leave your phone on the
table.
table.
A phone call, and
That's all right.
I
You're good.
rejected it. I'm probably going to get in trouble for that now. But anyway, what is your advice? Somebody's inside the house, boom, boom, everything's gone out. They go outside, and there's like, dramatically it would be fishing around. But if it wasn't fishing around, then and it's just laying there wrapped up in a tree or something, what is your first contact
100%.
advice?
100%. That's an easy one. We advise everyone to stay away from any downline and assume that it's energized until you know that it's not. We had an employee that's wife was in a car wreck at one point, and where they're down in a ditch, and the power line was laying over the car, and it was her and her teenage daughter, and she had remembered her husband talking about that we don't get out of the car because
Don't touch anything of the car.
you're insulated inside the car.
That's right.
So yeah, there's been a lot of cases where there's an energized line across someone's driveway, and they're like, I can't get out. It's like the best thing to do is stay away from it. That's ultimately all we can say is stay away from it. Consider it energized because it may not be flopping around on the ground.
Right.
That depends on the
Voltage.
It depends on the voltage, but it also depends on the moisture in the ground.
The ground.
And then you may not see it arcing, but it could still be energized. So just extreme precaution. Just assume.
Does it really dance around if there's enough grounding to make the connection?
Oh yeah, it can.
Okay.
It definitely can. And there's a big area that if it's laying on the ground and energized, there's a big distance area.
Oh yeah, that reach.
So it's not just the
ground is
No,
still
yeah,
energized.
you gotta, as long as you're touching the part that can become part of the ground, you can complete the circuit.
Stay away.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and don't try. If there's a tree,
just don't even touch the tree.
And you have people that are willing to remove the tree. Do not do it until we confirm that it is de-energized.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and,
that makes sense.
Of course, where I live, we have tons of trees.
Sure.
And it's amazing to me. I was driving through there today to come to work, and there's so many enormous trees that have just fallen over. And I don't know if it's because the ground was saturated and they fell, or from the ice, or
It's because of the vegetation program that the Meade County RECC.
That's what it is.
No, I'm just kidding. What are you doing to me, Steve? No, I'm just kidding. What can we expect from our Meade County RECC in the coming 2025 year? I mean, do you have some projects that are coming up that are going to be seen in our county and across the grid between our neighboring counties for Meade County RECC? Or
Well, we're constantly we serve. A lot of people don't know we serve 6 counties, so we serve all of or portions of 6 counties. So
Sure.
therefore, I think it's about 3,100 miles of line
Right.
across that. So we have a constant program where we're reinforcing and upgrading lines in certain areas. And what we have to do from time to time is load increases. So there's growth in an area, or a business that uses more is in this area. So we have to change focus from time to time. But we're in the process of doing that every year. We'll keep with our program of vegetation management and continue doing that. I don't know of anything major new coming up.
Is the new housing area in Brandenburg that's being developed, is that under Meade County RECC's purview?
Yeah.
That's great.
Now you're talking about the one next to
that's
the
right across.
library.
Yes.
Yeah.
mhm, Yep. So that's great. Okay, good to know.
So let's say somebody's sitting out there watching this and they think, "Oh, I'd like to be a lineman." What type of education or experience or whatever? What does someone need?
That's a great question.
Say they're graduated from high school.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to go to college.
Right.
Some just want to go right on into the workforce.
Right, and that's actually growing. There's people, because for years I think we
I loved being a wire dog in the Army. I'll just tell you.
I think we told everybody for years that you had to be successful, you got to have a 4-year degree.
Nope, that's
And
not true.
And that's not the case. That there's our linemen make good money.
They
Linemen
do.
across the nation. make good
Dangerous
money.
work. It's like being a cowboy in electric business.
That's right. Yeah. We don't want to be real cowboy-like. We want to be a little safety-minded. But I understand what you're saying. So there's lineman schools that you can go to that is ranges anywhere from probably 6 months to a year.
And they would just type in. They would just type in lineman school.
There's one in Somerset, Kentucky. That's a really good one. There's some a little bit further western, and then there's one in, I think it's Missouri, maybe. Well, I'm sorry. There is one there, but there's one in Alabama too that a lot of the guys go to. So that's one route. The other route is going to a contractor. So we typically hire people with experience. So a lot of them will go work for the electrical contractors that are in the area or across the state.
Yeah.
And they typically have to do quite a bit of storm work. Like they'll go to wherever the storm was at. It's good experience.
It's like roughnecks for oil
like a
rigs.
travel nurse, but they're travel linemen.
Right.
Well, yeah, I'd say like roughnecks. So when you get the boom, you get the big surge of people that want to do it, and the contractors is the best way to get the experience.
And it's that part of it's definitely designed for a young.
It is snug work.
Young person.
Yeah.
There are a lot of women. That do line work. We don't actually have any, but across the state there are a few line women, I guess you could call them.
Line women.
And they do a great job. So there's opportunity. If you couldn't get on with Meade County RECC immediately, these contractors are good options. And then there's other electric cooperatives across the state
Very good.
that offer opportunities. So but some type of lineman school is recommended, and more and more of the high schools are offering some
Like a vocational type
some vocational information from that. Yeah,
I would say that a lot of the learning that you can get from a lineman school is also probably relative to, because our steel plant is an electric-driven power versus a smelting plant that has like coal or whatever and it's super hard to get to those temperatures, so it takes a lot of voltage. So those electrical, what do they call them? Electrical maintenance guys that work the lines there, similar. It's just a different type of grid versus a power grid. But the coolest tool that I think you guys have, talking about vegetation management, are these helicopters that have these saws that dangle below them. Yeah. Do you all use those? Or
so Big Rivers Electric is who we buy our power from. Yeah. And they serve 22 counties across the state. So they have to, and transmission, just a lot of people don't know. Transmission is the tallest of the tall poles.
Yeah.
Distribution is the shorter. That's us. We're distribution. So the transmission, they go for miles and miles and miles and miles. So they have to. It's easier to do it that way. So yes, they contract with the company that does that, and it's very impressive to watch.
Yeah, it is super. It's like these saw blades that spin on top of each other.
Well, my favorite thing is the boots that. They've got
the spikes.
They stick into and they just. But because I have an inquiring mind, this is what I want to know, and I think about it all the time. Like if I'm driving down Joe Prather going to E-Town or whatever, I see it, along the line. So here's the pole, and then at the top of the pole, it's like a little loopity-loop of the wire,
Yeah.
and it's just stuck up there.
Yeah.
Why?
That's on transmission lines. I believe that is what they call the static line. It's part of the grounding system for the.
So
for the poles.
you know what I thought it was, because it's like a hose being rolled up, right? So I thought, they're gonna. It's so they can stretch it out if they need it. That's what I always think. Like that's their extra.
It has something to do with the grounding. Transmission, even though it's all electrical, transmission is a whole lot different than distribution.
I always love the videos when they're sitting on the ledge of a helicopter and they're running over to test the wires. Or there's always the videos of the lineman is actually sitting on the wire balanced and they're doing something to the wire or twisting it or adding in a weave or whatever.
Whatever, maybe just repairing.
Yeah.
But they, if you've ever watched, I recommend you watch it because it's pretty impressive. Now these are wires that are
they're big.
Maybe as big as this table.
Yeah.
I mean, they're huge and they run for miles, maybe even span for miles. And they're way up in the sky.
Yeah.
And if you ever see, they hold a wand out.
Yep. To ground the or to discharge the helicopters.
Well, what that's doing is that's putting you at the same potential as that voltage. Everybody asks, why can birds sit on a power line?
That's right.
And it never hurt them because they're the same potential.
Yeah.
If that bird would be touching the hot wire and the ground wire at the same time,
close the loop.
There would be no bird.
That's right.
How often do you guys have a problem where there's an outage because a squirrel or rabbit or something have gotten into?
That's a great. Actually, critters. I think that's a technical term. Critters are probably our number one reason for outages.
Really?
Beyond ice, beyond wind, beyond.
They've said, interesting fact, a lot of the critter problems are also in your household because of something about the plastics that are made in these. They like to eat on the plastics and not necessarily the wire itself, but the thinner.
insulation.
The insulation.
That rubber part.
They do.
Yeah, they
They
got
do.
in and
They put candy in it on purpose when it came from China.
Eddie raised the hood
Just
of
kidding.
my Honda Odyssey and took a picture of it, and some little something
Squirrels.
had gone in there and eaten all the little black rubber.
I'm
off
sure
of
it was
my-
squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then also you think about what is some of the beauty to the area we live in. It's the ruralness, the trees, so it's a catch-22. Our poles are near trees, and there's a guy wire that goes down it that they can climb right up and get up to the transformer.
Yeah.
So that's probably birds, squirrels. We've had possums, we've had raccoons.
Oh, I bet.
Snakes. I've heard of a
Snakes.
snake
We've had
before doing
snakes.
it.
Yeah.
So, I tried to do my friendly deed the other day. Kids were in the car, possum, right in the middle of the road, on 1638. Nobody's behind me, nobody's in front of me. So I slowed down. This little possum decided to stop going across the road and then starts walking the yellow line. And I'm like, okay, dude, you're on your own. And I pulled up. Landon's looking out the window. And the little possum, I said, buddy, you better clear the road. I start picking up speed. Of course, somebody's coming up behind me. The one behind me slows down too. I'm already picking back up to 55. And of course, by the third car, I'm
Were you
watching
really
the possum
55?
going bloop, bloop, bloop. Yeah,
Did
I
you
was.
only
Oh,
stay
yeah.
55?
I usually stay pretty. 1638's like they got two dips. It's the Otter Creek dip and the Doe Valley dip. And so traffic gets a little squirry at that one entrance after Doe Valley, and then the next one down where I'm at, like Jim Bar and Garrett. But I try to follow speed. But anyway, that was my possum story for the week. And you try to do your best, but critters are always going to get in the way.
Possums are our friend.
No,
You
I
don't want
know.
to kill the possums.
No,
Take
I
care of
tried to take care of it, but that third card bounced it up in the air pretty hard. Just kidding. Yeah, I told him to get out of the road.
it. We could have gone this whole entire show without you adding that in.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was a sad story.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hey, real quick, I just want to highlight your Meade County RECC is serving the community here. So we've got a lot of actually jobs coming to the area between, what Nucor is doing, new businesses that are starting up, but also on Fort Knox. And we've built our relationship with Fort Knox. I don't know if you know that, Todd. I get Jim Bradford comes in here once a month to do a podcast and talk. And one of the things is that because of the growth on Fort Knox, there's going to be like 200 new jobs. And I've wanted to spend a lot of time promoting Meade County because a lot of those folks they're civilian jobs.
Yeah.
And so you're coming with a family, and they'll move around a little bit on posts from, I've always been a 13, I want to go get a 14 or whatever, but there's still going to be an influx of the jobs coming in. And I encourage everybody on your list that if you're going to move to Meade County and choose it, which I recommend highly off of any list of surrounding areas, but that you look for the person that does your electric first. And I highly recommend Meade County RECC. And Todd, I'm glad to have your friendship for not only the newspaper, but in personal.
Yeah.
Hoping to continue this relationship long and into the future. But Earlene, I want to go into the community segment, close out with our sponsors. And if you can lead us on, I know there's some, Todd's here for a reason. We kind of brought in a lot of stories, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit.
Okay. So there's a couple of things that's coming out in the issue that will be out this Thursday, which is the 16th. Yep, it's the 16th. And so there's a couple of things. One, if you've got a kid that's in high school, even if they're a sophomore or junior, you want to go ahead and pick up the issue and look up the FAFSA night that's being held over at the Meade County 4 building, the career building. It's going to be in there. You want to check that out. There's also details about the VFW. They're having a fundraiser this weekend. You want to find out that information so that you can support them.
Go buy a newspaper.
Yep. And it is Girl Scout season.
What?
And so, yes.
You heard it
And
first.
So, that's right. And so we wrote a really sweet story about a particular Girl Scout. And so so you can read about her, but you can also read about how to get your cookies. I mean, it is so easy now. You just get on, pluck, 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 dot, 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 and they can just be right there. So a little nostalgia. I talked to a bunch of people, and they're really well-known people here in Brandenburg, about the great blizzard of 1978 and all the things we went through. And it's funny that we were just talking about this because at least half of the people that I interviewed for that, which are probably anywhere from 55, 56, 60 years old, at least half of them had only wood-burning stoves for heat back then. And so that was the big challenge during that blizzard, was making sure that we had enough wood to go in our potbelly stoves back then. I was in 8th grade during that great blizzard, and that was amazing. So the newspaper's full of all kinds of safety issues and suggestions about what to do if, because this is not supposed to be our only storm. We're supposed to have a couple of other storms in January and February come in. So there could be other possibilities where we find ourselves at home. So anyway, if you don't have a subscription to the newspaper, you need to call up here and get one, and or just pick it up off of the newsstand. But you want to get the paper. You want to read it. And it's online as well.
Thanks, Earlene. I also want to let everybody know, too, just a reminder, after the first of the year, our rates for the newspaper did go up for your annual subscription. If you haven't subscribed with us before, there is a discount for subscribing online, but if you are renewing, it has gone up, and I'm sorry to have to tell you that it has gone up, but it has gone up because our postal rates have gone up, and so too has the paper printing costs.
Yes.
And,
it's only gone up to meet those costs.
That's it. Yeah, I'm not trying to kill the bank, but it's to keep it alive. So.
And I do have one more thing to say.
Go ahead.
I know I've interrupted you.
Go
I'm
ahead.
Sorry.
No,
right.
you're good.
Listen,
we do that often.
We do. I posted this thing saying, send in your pictures of you hugging your dog. We need to have them by this Friday, and everybody that sends in a picture of hugging their dog, for one thing, I'm going to put it in the paper. The second thing is I'm going to put everybody's name, and we're going to draw one out, and we have a prize from one of our sponsors. And you will win a prize from one of our sponsors if your name gets pulled. I mean, we're not going to put ourselves through the nightmare of picking the cutest.
Yeah.
So we're just going to take everybody's name, put it in a cup, shake it around, pull one out, and then you'll be notified for a prize. So if you have not submitted your picture of you hugging your dog yet, please do.
And you can submit that to copy@themessengerky.com. And I'd also like to announce that I got a new salesperson. Her name is Jaden Yates. She's been working this.
No, she's
Jed Bowen. She's not Yates. I totally did. Jaden Bowen got married. I was there too. What the heck?
I know.
Anyway, that's me screwing up again live. That's okay.
You just got her a new nameplate with Bowen on.
I did. I totally did for a Christmas gift. But anyway, she is out selling those sponsorship spots, and they're a really great price. I think we've put a lot of time and effort into making the advertising rates fair and equitable now for this year. So if you're looking, if you have a small budget, we've got a small budget plan for those small businesses starting up. And then obviously for our larger contributors, we even have some great deals for you guys that were better than what you were doing last year. So we look forward to working with everybody, and I think you'll be very pleased with the choice I've made to help work with you on your advertising needs. And then we've got some other really creative stuff that's going to come up this year that's going to help our audience in our digital space. I know that I hear it all the time. Well, there's a lot of us out here that don't like all that digital stuff.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, but I will tell you that we have increased our readership because we are in the digital space. And so what is really cool is that a lot more people know a lot more about how cool Meade County is and are kind of envious of us, even though that's a sin. Don't do that. But they are coming here. We're seeing increases in tourism and some other things. So we're excited about being a part of that. So stay tuned for some of those changes. One last thought, Earlene.
Well, I was getting ready to ask Todd. Is there anything that we didn't ask you that you wanted to offer before we leave?
Really two quick things. In an outage, any kind of storm outage, remember to meet mcrecc.com. The phone number again was 866-627-3688. And I also want to thank, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all the office workers. We had a lot of ladies that really helped out in the meals for this last storm. Yeah. We feed the guys as they come in the evenings and in the mornings for breakfast. So they did a tremendous job, and lots of compliments for the food preparation. And that kind of goes without a pat on the back sometimes. And I want to make sure that they get that. They did a great job. So
is that the number that they would call to get the alert like I have on my phone?
Yeah, that's the same number you can call or text. Yeah. That's correct.
Very good.
That's correct. Yeah.
Well, guys, and Todd, I'm super glad to have you on the show. Earlene, you're awesome. Keep up the great work with the newspaper. Get compliments every day. Even our subscribers or resubscribers have great comments as I catch some of those phone calls to get them their subscriptions renewed. So y'all stay tuned. Go grab a newspaper off the stands, or better yet, subscribe. Gonna mention and close out with our sponsors. And again, I just want to say thank you to Ray's Ford. What a great location. Been here for years. I actually got to meet his dad, a former veteran and a command sergeant major for the United States Army. And carrying on the legacy, obviously, Ray and Chris, his son, what a great dealership and great service. You can go and check them out. And if you're looking to buy, just ask for Keith, and he will satisfy all your shopping needs between Ford, Jeep, and Dodge. Joe Redmond for sponsoring this week's episode. You can reach him at 270-668-2858. He is your local handyman, and he's got all your handyman needs can satisfy. You can build a new deck. He's the guy. He can do drop ceilings. He can do sheetrock. We should even let Nancy know about that. Drywall finishing. But he's the guy you need if you got something and you don't have the time. He can get it taken care of. Give him a call. Terry Woobery with Doe Valley Lakeside Bar and Grill. You can also get in touch with her. You can call her at 270-422-3981 if you're looking for catering information or that little party or special thing that you got to put together, but don't want the mess and fuss. Give Terry a call. Or you can enjoy their fine dining at the Lakeside Bar and Grill with the terrific views of the lakeside of Doe Valley. And the bar is open. You can lift up, it's already up. You don't have to have a gate that you go through. It's open after after 5 p.m. on the days that they're open.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yep, and sometimes they even throw in a breakfast. So tune in as we kind of keep you posted on when those days are. And then finally, Pollock's Appliance. You can call them at 270-668-8292. And you can go to their website at pollocksappliance.com.
And there's a write-up in this issue about Pollock's, so if you want to read a little bit more about them.
Absolutely, and that's so great. And by the way, if you advertise, you also, with the messenger, we try to publicize. So stay in touch with us, keep in touch, and you guys have a great night, and thanks for joining us in on our show. We're so glad to have been a part of your day.